The flowers had her name on them, and that's what made Damon Sinclair dangerous. She'd spent a year being nobody, the housekeeper who disappeared into walls, who cleaned mirrors at dawn and never made eye contact. But someone noticed her. Someone sent roses to his estate, and the jealousy that exploded in his chest didn't just lock her in the East Wing with panic buttons and armed guards. It started a war with the one man who knew her darkest secret, that she'd been carrying evidence worth killing for since the night her old boss vanished with $4.2 million. And now both monsters wanted to own her. The morning began like every other at the Sinclair estate. Quiet, precise, on time. Clara Hayes unlocked the linen closet, checked the silver inventory, and signed for the first delivery. Fresh linens, specialty soaps, imported coffee, crystal polish. At the bottom of the crate, a long white box tied with crimson ribbon. She frowned. No vendor sticker, no invoice, just her name written by hand. For Clara. Nobody sent her anything. Clara was the kind of worker who made rooms look ready and then stepped out of the frame. She polished mirrors at dawn, arranged guest suites so they felt lived in but untouched, and moved like a shadow through the marble halls. A year here had taught her the safest rule. Be useful, be quiet, be gone before the boss enters. Still, her hands lifted the lid. Inside were 12 red roses, deep and perfect, dew beating on the petals. The scent reached her first, clean and sweet, almost too deliberate. A small white card lay between the stems. She picked it up and read the single line. For the girl this house pretends not to see. Her fingers tightened around the card. The words landed too neatly, like someone had been standing in the corridor with her all year, watching her disappear. Footsteps sounded in the hallway. She set the card down. Who delivered that? The voice was even, not loud, but it filled the space. Damon Sinclair stood in the doorway, charcoal suit, sleeves rolled to the forearms, dark hair swept back, tie loosened at the collar. He didn't need to raise his voice to change the air in a room. He just arrived and everything lined up. It was in the delivery crate, Clara said. I didn't order it. His eyes moved to the label, then to her face, then back to the flowers. Sharp, calculating. Show me the card. She handed it over. He read it once, jaw set, then again. A muscle twitched in his temple. He folded the card in half, then in half again, crushing it between his fingers. This house has cameras on every gate, he said. No one leaves a package without being logged. I believe you. That's not the point. He lifted one rose, pressed the bloom between his fingers until petals loosened and fell onto the marble floor. Elias Vance, the head of security, arrived almost before his name finished. The man wore tactical black and the kind of calm that doesn't break under gunfire. Boss. Pull footage from midnight to 6, Damon said. All gates, all service entrances. I want whoever carried this. Elias took the crumpled card with a gloved hand, glanced at the box, and nodded. Copy. When the door closed behind him, silence held. If this story already stirs something within you, take a moment to subscribe. Join our circle of faith, hope, and love. And drop a comment to tell us where you're watching from. Clara kept her gaze on the counter, the way staff was trained to do, but she felt Damon's attention, direct and close, like a blade held to skin. Does anyone outside this house know where you work? He asked. No. Family, my brother. He's in college upstate. He doesn't share details. Friends? She hesitated. I keep to myself. He accepted that with a short nod. From now on, you stay inside the main house. No back gate, no side door. If a vendor speaks to you, call security first. I didn't do anything wrong. This isn't punishment, he said. It's protection. He turned, stopped, and looked back once more. The look wasn't soft. It was assessment and promise in the same breath. Then he left. Clara breathed out only when he was gone. She gathered the fallen petals and put them in the waste bin. She should have thrown the bouquet away, but the handwriting on the card kept tugging at something in her memory. An old office in Ohio. Notes that appeared on her desk with the same slanted letters. 2 weeks after the first note, her manager disappeared with client files. Federal agents had asked questions. Rumors had teeth. She left the state and never looked back. She slid the roses into the bottom shelf of the walk-in pantry, behind the crates of imported oils, where no one would think to look. Elias came for her at noon. "Mr. Sinclair wants you moved to the East Wing, 3rd floor. Your things are already packed." Clara looked up from the inventory sheet she'd been pretending to focus on for the past hour. "Moved? I have a room in the staff quarters." "Not anymore." He didn't elaborate. Didn't need to. His expression said the decision wasn't up for debate. She followed him through corridors she'd cleaned 100 times but never truly noticed. Marble gave way to hardwood, then to plush carpet that swallowed sound. They climbed a private staircase where family portraits watched from gilded frames. This wasn't the house she worked in. This was the house she served. The suite door opened to reveal a space larger than her childhood home. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the gardens. A 4-poster bed sat centered against cream walls. Her small duffel bag looked absurd on the silk duvet. "Bathroom's through there," Elias said, nodding to a door on the left. "Panic button's by the bed. Press it, I'm there in 90 seconds. Don't open this door for anyone but me or Mr. Sinclair. This is a guest suite. It's your suite now." He pulled something from his pocket. A small black device. Smooth and rectangular, no bigger than a car fob. "Wear this. Clip it to your waistband. Keep it in your pocket. Doesn't matter. Just keep it on you." Clara took it, felt the weight. "What is it?" "Insurance. Button on the side. You press it, I know exactly where you are, and I come running." His eyes held hers. "You press it, Miss Hayes, you better mean it." She nodded, throat tight. When the door closed behind him, she stood in the center of the room and felt the walls press closer despite all the space. Protection, Damon had said. But protection looked a lot like a cage when you couldn't leave. She spent the afternoon unpacking the few things she owned and trying not to think about how the lock on the door only worked from the outside. Dinner arrived on a cart at 7. Not a tray. A cart. White tablecloth, covered dishes, actual silverware that probably cost more than her first car. The woman who delivered it, Margaret from the kitchen staff, wouldn't meet her eyes. "Mr. Sinclair will join you shortly," Margaret said, and left before Clara could respond. Shortly turned out to be 8 minutes. Damon entered without knocking, because of course he did. He'd changed from the morning suit into dark slacks and a black button-down, sleeves still rolled up like he'd been interrupted mid-task. He looked at her standing by the window, then at the untouched food. "You haven't eaten." "I was waiting." "For?" "I don't know. Permission. Maybe." Something flickered across his face. Surprise. Or maybe satisfaction. He moved to the table, lifted the silver dome from the first plate. Steam rose from perfectly seared salmon, roasted vegetables arranged like art. "Sit." She did. He poured wine into both glasses, then settled into the chair across from her. The silence stretched, broken only by the clink of silverware against porcelain. Clara took small bites, tasting nothing. "Elias briefed you," Damon said. Not a question. "He gave me the panic button." "Good. Use it if you need it." "And if I need to leave the suite?" "You don't." The words landed flat, final. Clara set her fork down. "I work here. I have responsibilities." "Your responsibilities have changed." "To what?" "Sitting in a gilded room waiting for..." She stopped herself, but not fast enough. Waiting for what? His voice stayed level, but his eyes sharpened. Say it. I don't understand what's happening. Someone knows you're here. Someone sent you flowers with a message designed to get your attention. That means you're visible now, whether you want to be or not. He leaned back, wineglass balanced in one hand. Visible things become targets. I didn't ask for this. No. You asked to disappear. He tilted his head, studying her. You're very good at it. A year here and half my staff doesn't know your name. But someone noticed. Someone's been watching. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. The footage? Clara asked. Clean. Whoever delivered that box knew how to avoid the cameras. His jaw tightened. Which means they've studied this property. They know our blind spots. So you're hiding me. I'm keeping you alive. The certainty in his voice made her stomach twist. This wasn't paranoia. This was calculation from a man who understood threat the way other people understood weather. How long? Until I find who sent them. And then? Then we deal with it. He set the glass down, leaned forward. You need to understand something, Clara. You're under my roof. That makes you mine to protect. The word hung between them. Mine. Not my responsibility or my concern. Mine. Possessive. Absolute. I'm not a possession, she said quietly. No. You're a person who's in danger. His gaze didn't waver. But while you're here, in this house, in this room, you're under my protection. That means you follow my rules. You wear the panic device. You stay in the suite. You don't open the door for anyone but Elias or me. He paused. And you tell me the truth about Ohio. Her heart stopped. I don't... The handwriting on that card triggered something. I saw it on your face this morning. He stood, moved to the window, hands in his pockets. I don't like mysteries in my house. So you're going to tell me what happened in Ohio and why someone from your past is leaving roses at my gate. Clara's fingers found the panic device clipped to her waistband, pressed against it without activating. The small, hard reality of it. I worked in an office, she said finally. Financial consulting. My manager disappeared with client funds. Federal agents asked questions. I didn't know anything, but people talked. She met his eyes. I left because staying meant being guilty by association. And the handwriting? He used to leave notes on my desk, reminders about meetings, files to pull. Always that same slant. Damon turned from the window. Your manager's name. Does it matter? Everything matters. She exhaled. Richard Calloway. Something shifted in his expression. Recognition, maybe. Or confirmation of something he'd already suspected. Get some rest, he said, moving toward the door. Elias will be outside all night. Mr. Sinclair. He stopped, hand on the doorknob. What happens when you find who sent the flowers? He looked back at her, and for the first time all day, his expression went cold. I make sure they never reach you again. The door closed with a soft click. The lock engaged from the outside. Clara sat in the beautiful room with its silk curtains and panic button and door she couldn't open, and understood exactly what protection meant in Damon Sinclair's world. It meant control. It meant possession. It meant she'd traded invisibility for a cage with a better view. Clara woke to voices in the hallway. Low, clipped, urgent. She checked the clock on the nightstand. 4:47 a.m. The suite was dark except for the ambient glow from the garden lights below. She slipped out of bed, pressed her ear to the door. Got him on camera. Southgate, 2:14 a.m. 2 nights ago. Elias's voice, controlled but sharp. Show me. Damon. Footsteps retreated down the hall. Clara stood there in borrowed pajamas. Silk, because apparently even sleepwear in this house came with a thread count, and made a decision. She opened the door. The hallway was empty. Dim sconces cast long shadows across the runner carpet. She followed the sound of voices to a room at the end of the corridor. Door slightly ajar. Light spilled through the gap. She shouldn't. Every instinct that had kept her invisible for a year screamed at her to go back to the suite, to follow the rules, to let the men with guns handle whatever this was. But those flowers had her name on them. That card knew her truth. She pushed the door open. The room was a security nerve center. Monitors covered one wall, showing live feeds from every angle of the estate. Damon and Elias stood before a frozen image on the center screen. A third man, Marcus, she thought his name was, another member of Damon's security team, sat at the console, fingers on the keyboard. All three turned when she entered. "I told you to stay in the suite," Damon said. "You're talking about me. I have a right to know." Elias glanced at Damon, waiting. Damon studied her for a long moment, then nodded once. "Show her." Marcus hit a key. The frozen image came to life. The timestamp read 2:14 a.m. The south gate, barely lit by a single street lamp. A figure approached from the shadows, male, average height, wearing a dark coat and leather gloves. He moved with purpose, confidence, no hesitation. He set a long white box against the gate, then stepped back. "Zoom in," Damon said. Marcus tapped keys. The image enlarged, pixelated slightly, then sharpened. The man's face came into focus. Sharp features, graying hair at the temples, a scar running from his left eyebrow to his cheekbone. But it was his hand that made Damon's jaw clench. On his right ring finger, a distinctive piece caught the streetlight. Gold band, wide and ornate, with what looked like a crest engraved on the face. Even through the camera's grain, Clara could see it was custom work. Expensive, identifiable. "Victor Kane," Elias said quietly. The name landed like a stone in still water. Damon's expression didn't change, but something in his posture shifted. Coiled tighter. "You're certain?" "Ring's a match. He had it commissioned in Prague 8 years ago. Only one like it." Elias pulled up another image on a side monitor. A clearer shot of the same ring, this time on a hand signing documents. "This is from the Castellano deal, 2019. Same ring, same hand." "Who is he?" Clara asked. Damon turned to her. "Someone who doesn't make social calls." "That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting right now. He came to your house, left flowers with my name on them, and you won't tell me who he is?" The silence stretched. Marcus suddenly found something fascinating on his keyboard. Elias crossed his arms, waiting. "Victor Kane," Damon said finally, "is a competitor. We operate in similar circles, manage similar interests. He's been trying to expand his territory for the past 2 years. I've been in his way." "What kind of interests?" "The kind that don't get discussed with civilians." Clara took a step forward. "I stopped being a civilian when someone left roses at your gate with my name on them." Damon's eyes narrowed, but there was something almost approving in the look. "Fair enough. Kane runs operations on the East Coast. Import, export, liquidation. He doesn't deal in flowers and sentiment. If he's reaching out to you, it's because he thinks you're leverage." "Leverage for what?" "For me." The words hung there, simple and terrifying. Clara's mind raced. "You think he's using me to get to you?" "I think he's probing for weakness, testing my security, seeing if he can get close to someone in my house without me noticing." Damon moved closer, and Clara fought the urge to step back. The fact that he chose you specifically means he's done his homework. He knows who works here, knows you keep your head down, knows you're the kind of person who wouldn't immediately run to me with questions. But I didn't know anything. I'm just... Nobody, Damon finished. That's what you wanted to be. That's what made you perfect. He glanced at the screen, at Kane's frozen face. The question is what he wants from you. Clara's throat went dry. The Ohio connection. The handwriting. Richard Calloway's name dropping between them at dinner like a live wire. Play it forward, Damon told Marcus. The footage resumed. Kane set the box down, stepped back, then did something unexpected. He looked directly at the camera. Not searching for it, he knew exactly where it was. He smiled, raised his right hand in a mock salute, the ring glinting, then turned and disappeared into the darkness. "Cocky son of a bitch," Elias muttered. Damon's voice went cold. He wanted us to know it was him. "It's a message," Elias said. "It's a declaration." Damon turned to Clara. "Whatever happened in Ohio, whatever connection you have to your old boss, Kane knows about it, and he's using it to draw you out." "I don't have a connection. I left that life behind." "Did you?" Damon moved to the console, pulled up another file. "Marcus ran your background after you were hired. Standard procedure. You worked for Callaway Financial Solutions for 8 months. Your manager, Richard Callaway, vanished with $4.2 million in client funds. Federal investigation closed after 6 months. No charges filed. You left Ohio 3 weeks after he disappeared. I told you that last night." "You told me the outline. I want the details." His gaze pinned her. "Did Callaway contact you after he disappeared?" "No." "Did he give you anything before he left? Files, passwords, access codes?" "No. I was his assistant. I scheduled meetings and answered phones. And yet Victor Kane thinks you're worth the risk of showing his face at my gate." Clara's pulse hammered. The panic device felt heavy against her hip. "I don't know what he wants." Damon studied her for a long moment, and she couldn't tell if he believed her or was simply deciding whether it mattered. Finally, he turned to Elias. "Double the perimeter. No one gets within 50 yards of this property without clearance. Pull records on everyone who's had access to the estate in the past 6 months. Vendors, contractors, anyone. If Kane knows enough to target her, he might have someone inside." "Copy. And find out where Kane is right now. I want eyes on him around the clock." Elias nodded and left, Marcus trailing behind him. The door closed, leaving Clara alone with Damon in the room full of watching screens. "What happens now?" she asked. Damon moved to the window overlooking the grounds. Dawn was starting to break, pale light touching the edges of the garden. "Now we wait." Kane made his move. "He'll make another one." "And me?" "You stay exactly where you are." He turned and his expression was carved from stone. "If your past is reaching for you in my house, we cut its hand off. But first, I need to know what it wants." Clara wrapped her arms around herself. "You think I'm lying. I think you're scared. I think you ran from Ohio because something there terrified you enough to disappear." He took a step closer. "And I think Victor Kane knows exactly what that something is." The words settled over her like frost. "Go back to your suite," Damon said. "Don't leave it without Elias or me. Don't answer the door. Don't go near the windows." His voice dropped. "And if you remember anything about Ohio, anything Callaway said, anywhere he might have hidden something, anyone who might have wanted him dead, you tell me immediately." "Why would someone want him dead?" Damon's smile was knife-thin. "Because $4.2 million doesn't just disappear. It goes somewhere. And if Kane thinks you know where, then someone else probably thought the same thing 3 years ago. He left her standing there, surrounded by silent screens showing every angle of the estate. Every approach, every exit, every shadow. All the places someone could reach her if Damon's protection failed. Clara walked back to her suite on unsteady legs and locked herself inside a cage that suddenly felt far too fragile. The phone appeared on her breakfast tray. Clara stared at it for a full 30 seconds before touching it. Small, black, cheap plastic casing, the kind you bought at a gas station with cash. It sat next to her coffee like a coiled snake. Margaret had delivered the tray 10 minutes ago. Standard routine. Poached eggs, wheat toast, fresh fruit. Margaret had smiled, set everything down, and left. She wouldn't have known. Couldn't have known. Which meant someone had access between the kitchen and Clara's door. Clara's hand moved to the panic device at her waist, finger hovering over the button. But she didn't press it. Not yet. Instead, she picked up the phone with shaking fingers and pressed the power button. It was already on. One message waited in the inbox. No sender name, just a number she didn't recognize. She opened it. Tell him what you took. 5 words. No signature. No context needed. Clara's vision blurred at the edges. The room felt smaller, airless. She set the phone down carefully, as if sudden movement might detonate it, and backed away from the table. Her mind raced through the implications. Someone had gotten past Damon's doubled security, past Elias and his team, past the cameras and the protocols and the locked doors. They'd placed this phone on her breakfast tray like a calling card, and the message made it clear they knew. They knew about Ohio. They knew about what she'd taken the night Richard Calloway disappeared. The flash drive. Clara pressed her back against the wall and slid down to the floor, arms wrapped around her knees. She'd been so careful. 3 years of being invisible, of keeping her head down, of never staying in one place long enough for anyone to find the threads. And now someone was pulling them all at once. She reached for the panic button, pressed it. 90 seconds, Elias had said. He made it in 60. The door burst open. Elias came through first, weapon drawn, eyes scanning the room. 2 more security personnel followed, clearing the bathroom and closet with practiced efficiency. Miss Hayes, are you hurt? Clara pointed at the table. The phone. Elias crossed to the breakfast tray in 3 strides. He didn't touch the device, just leaned close to read the screen. His jaw tightened. Marcus, seal this floor. No one in or out without direct clearance. Find out who had access to the kitchen between prep and delivery. He pulled out his own phone. We have a breach. The words were for Damon, Clara realized. Less than 2 minutes later, he appeared in the doorway. He looked at Clara on the floor, then at the phone, then at Elias. When? Breakfast delivery. Approximately 20 minutes ago. Margaret brought it up? Yes, sir. Where is she now? Kitchen. Marcus has her contained. Damon moved to the table, pulled a pen from his pocket, and used it to turn the phone screen toward him. He read the message. Something dark crossed his face. Not surprise, but confirmation. He looked at Clara. What did you take? Her throat closed. Clara. His voice was steel wrapped in silk. What did you take from Ohio? The room held its breath. 3 armed men, 1 mafia boss, all waiting for her answer. The answer she'd buried for 3 years. The answer that had kept her running. A flash drive, she whispered. Damon crouched in front of her, eye level now. What's on it? I don't know. I never looked. But you kept it. I didn't know what else to do. He studied her face, reading the truth there. Tell me everything. From the beginning. Clara pulled her knees tighter. Richard called me into his office the day before he disappeared. It was late, after everyone else had gone home. He was burning papers in a metal trash can. Actual papers with a lighter. The smoke alarm was disabled. She closed her eyes, remembering. He looked terrified. Not stressed or worried. Terrified. What did he say? He gave me a manila envelope and told me to hold on to it. Said if anything happened to him, I should mail it to an address in Baltimore. He made me memorize the address, wouldn't let me write it down. Did you mail it? No. He disappeared the next morning. By noon, federal agents were in the office. They seized everything: computers, files, hard drives. They questioned everyone, including me. I told them I didn't know anything. She met Damon's eyes. That night, I opened the envelope. It was just a flash drive in a plastic case. No note, no explanation. I was scared, so I hid it. Where? In my apartment, behind a ceiling vent. When the investigation dragged on and people started looking at me sideways, I packed a bag and left. The drive came with me. And you never looked at what was on it? I was afraid to. Whatever was on that drive got Richard killed. I knew that much. Damon stood, pulled out his phone, typed something. You said got Richard killed. The federal investigation ruled him missing, not dead. Men like Richard don't vanish with millions and start over somewhere warm. Someone made him disappear. Someone like Victor Kane. The name hung between them. You think Kane killed my old boss? Clara asked. I think your old boss worked for people who don't tolerate theft. I think that flash drive has something on it valuable enough that Kane is willing to breach my house to get it back. Damon's expression was carved ice. And I think you've been carrying a loaded gun for 3 years without knowing it. Clara's stomach turned. How did he know I had it? Good question. Damon looked at Elias. Margaret? 15-year employee, family in Queens, no flags on her background. Bring her up. I want to know who talked to her, who paid her, and how long she's been feeding information to Kane. Elias nodded and left with the other security personnel. The door closed, leaving Clara alone with Damon. He pulled a chair from the table and sat, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. Where's the drive now? Clara hesitated. Every instinct screamed not to tell him, to keep that last card close. But the phone on her breakfast tray had changed the equation. Kane knew she had it. He was coming for it. And Damon was the only thing standing between her and whatever Kane would do to retrieve it. Queens, she said finally. St. Matthew's Church. There's a loose stone in the wall behind the third pew from the back, right side. The drive's wrapped in plastic inside the cavity. Damon processed this without expression. How long has it been there? 2.5 years. I moved it from my apartment when I came to work here. Couldn't risk keeping it close, but I couldn't throw it away either. Why not? Because Richard trusted me with it. Because he's dead and I'm the only person who knows it exists. She swallowed hard. Because maybe someday I'd need proof of what happened. Proof that I didn't just run because I was scared. Damon stood, pulled out his phone again, sent a series of rapid texts. We're going to get it. Today. Now. You're going to Queens? We're going to Queens. You, me, and Elias. I'm not letting you out of my sight, and I'm not sending anyone into that church without knowing exactly what we're retrieving. He held out a hand to help her up. Get dressed. Something that doesn't stand out. We leave in 20 minutes. Clara took his hand, let him pull her to her feet. What about Kane? If he's watching, he's watching. Which is why we're going now, before he has time to position anyone. We get the drive, we find out what's on it, and then we decide how to cut off his hand. Damon's grip tightened slightly. And Clara? No more secrets. If there's anything else from Ohio, anything else you're carrying that might get you killed, you tell me now. There's nothing else. You're sure? She met his eyes. I'm sure. He held her gaze a moment longer, searching. Then he nodded and released her hand. 20 minutes. Don't make me come back. The door closed behind him. Clara stood in the center of the room, staring at the burner phone on her breakfast tray. Tell him what you took. She'd told him. And now she'd find out if that truth would save her or destroy her. The drive to Queens took 40 minutes in midday traffic. Clara sat in the back of a black SUV with tinted windows, Damon beside her, Elias at the wheel. A second vehicle followed 3 cars behind. Marcus and 2 others Clara didn't recognize. No one spoke. Damon had his phone out, scrolling through messages, issuing orders in clipped texts. Clara watched the city slide past. Streets she'd walked 3 years ago when she first arrived. Desperate and broke. She'd found St. Matthew's by accident, ducked inside during a rainstorm, and noticed the loose stone while waiting for the weather to break. It had seemed like Providence then. Now it felt like a trap she'd set for herself. 2 blocks out, Elias said. Damon pocketed his phone. Circle once. I want eyes on every approach. The church appeared around a corner. Gray stone, Gothic arches, iron fence. Modest compared to the cathedral downtown, but solid. Old. The kind of place that had weathered 100 years of neighborhood change and still opened its doors every Sunday. The street was quiet. A few parked cars. A woman walking a dog. Normal. Too normal. Elias made the circuit, eyes scanning. North side has a service entrance, alley access. East side is flush against an apartment building. Main entrance faces south. Side streets? Clear. No vehicles that don't belong. Damon's jaw tightened. He's already here. You don't know that, Clara said. I know Kane. He put that phone on your tray this morning. He wanted you to panic, wanted you to run for the drive. He's counting on it. Damon looked at her. Question is whether he thinks we're stupid enough to walk in the front door. So we don't? So we do exactly that. He leaned forward. Elias, drop us at the main entrance. Take the vehicle around back. Cover the service exit. Marcus and his team hold the perimeter. Anyone approaches who isn't clergy, you stop them. Copy. The SUV pulled to the curb. Damon opened the door, then turned to Clara. Stay behind me. Do exactly what I say when I say it. Understand? She nodded. They crossed the sidewalk. The church doors were unlocked. They always were during the day. Inside, the temperature dropped 10 degrees. Incense and old wood and the particular silence of sacred spaces. Afternoon light filtered through stained glass, painting the pews in fractured color. Empty. Completely empty. Clara's footsteps echoed on the stone floor. Damon moved like a shadow beside her, one hand inside his jacket. She knew what was there, had seen the shoulder holster when he'd reached for his phone in the car. Third pew from the back, she whispered. Right side. They walked the length of the nave. Each step felt like walking toward a precipice. Clara's pulse hammered in her ears. The pew looked exactly as she remembered. Worn wood, kneelers tucked underneath, a hymnal holder on the back. She knelt at the end, ran her fingers along the wall behind it. There, the loose stone, barely noticeable unless you knew where to look. She worked it free. The cavity behind was dark, maybe 6 inches deep. Her fingers found the plastic-wrapped bundle, pulled it out. Got it, she breathed. The first shot shattered the stained glass window above them. Damon moved before Clara could process the sound. His arm locked around her waist, pulled her down behind the pew as colored glass rained onto the stone floor. Another shot splintered wood 2 feet from her head. Stay down! Damon had his weapon out, scanning the balcony. Elias, we're live! Clara's ears rang. Her hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the drive. More shots. 3, 4, 5 in rapid succession. They weren't coming from one direction. Multiple shooters. North balcony, south entrance, maybe more. Damon returned fire, controlled bursts that echoed like thunder in the enclosed space. "Marcus, we need extraction now!" The radio crackled. "North exit, 30 seconds. Copy. Moving." Damon grabbed Clara's arm, pulled her into a crouch. "When I say go, you run for that side door. Don't look back. Don't stop. Understand?" "I can't." "You can. You will." His eyes locked on hers. "Go!" They ran. Clara's legs felt like water. The side door was 20 feet away. 15. 10. Damon was behind her, between her and the shooters, his body a shield. She heard him grunt, stumble, keep moving. The door burst open from the outside. Elias, weapon raised. "Clear!" They tumbled through into an alley. The SUV was there, engine running, rear door open. Clara dove inside. Damon followed, blood staining his left shoulder. "Drive!" Elias was already in motion, tires screaming as they fishtailed onto the street. Clara pressed her hands against Damon's shoulder. Blood seeped between her fingers, hot and dark. "You're hit." Grazed. His face was pale but controlled. The drive? She still had it clutched in her right hand, plastic wrapping smeared with his blood. "Here." "Good." He took it, examined it through the plastic. Standard USB drive, black casing, no markings. "Elias, status?" 3 shooters confirmed. Professional setup. They were waiting. "Casualties?" "None on our side. Can't speak for theirs." Damon leaned his head back against the seat, breathing through the pain. Kane just declared war. Clara couldn't stop shaking. Her ears still rang from the gunfire. The plastic-wrapped drive sat in Damon's lap, smeared with blood. His blood, spilled because of her, because of a secret she'd carried for 3 years without understanding its weight. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Don't." His voice was rough. "You didn't pull those triggers." "But You survived. That's what matters." He looked at her, and despite the pain, his eyes were sharp. "Whatever's on this drive, it's worth killing for. Which means it's worth protecting. So you did the right thing bringing it to me. You got shot. I've been shot before." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Usually the consequences are worse." They drove for another 10 minutes, taking turns seemingly at random. Elias checked the mirrors constantly, making sure they weren't followed. Finally, they pulled into an underground garage Clara didn't recognize. "Safe house," Damon said, reading her expression. "We're not going back to the estate until I know what we're dealing with." Inside, the space was utilitarian. Concrete walls, basic furniture, computers on a table in the corner. Marcus was already there, setting up a perimeter check on the monitors. Elias helped Damon to a chair. "Let me see that shoulder." "After." Damon unwrapped the drive, held it up to the light. 3 years in a church wall, and it looked pristine. He inserted it into one of the computers. The screen flickered to life. Files. Dozens of them. Spreadsheets, scanned documents, photographs. Damon opened the first folder. Bank statements, wire transfers, account numbers from Grand Cayman, Switzerland, Singapore. Millions moving through shell corporations with names like Meridian Holdings and Apex Solutions. "Shell companies," Elias said, reading over Damon's shoulder. "Classic money laundering structure." Damon opened another folder. Photographs this time. Men in expensive suits shaking hands. Shipping manifests. Customs documents with forged stamps. "Kane's empire," Damon breathed. Your boss was documenting everything. Why? Clara asked. Insurance, probably. Calloway was moving money for Kane, skimming a little off the top. When Kane figured it out, Calloway gathered evidence. Probably thought he could negotiate his way out. Damon clicked through more files. He thought wrong. So Kane killed him for the money he stole? Kane killed him to bury the evidence. The $4.2 million was pocket change. This, he gestured at the screen. This is his entire operation. Trafficking routes, bribed officials, blackmail material on half the Port Authority. If this went to the right people, it would dismantle everything he's built. Clara's stomach turned. And he thinks I've had it this whole time. He knows you have it now. Damon ejected the drive, held it up. Which means we have two options. Give it to him and hope he leaves you alone. Or we use it. We take everything he's built and burn it to the ground. The room went silent. Elias moved to the window, checking sightlines. Marcus stayed at the monitors. Clara stood in the middle of the safe house with blood on her hands. Damon's blood. And understood she'd reached a decision point. Run, like she'd been running for 3 years. Or stand and fight. What happens if we burn it down? She asked quietly. Damon turned to her. His shoulder was still bleeding, his shirt ruined. But his eyes were clear. Kane comes for us with everything he has. It gets ugly. People die. But when it's over, you're free. And if we give it to him, you're never free. He'll always know what you carried. You'll always be a loose end. Clara looked at the drive in his hand. Such a small thing. 3 years of her life reduced to a piece of plastic and silicon. 3 years of invisibility, of fear, of running from shadows. Burn it, she said. Damon's smile was knife-sharp. Good answer. He turned back to the computer and began copying files. Clara watched the progress bar crawl across the screen and wondered if she'd just signed her death warrant or bought her freedom. Behind them, Elias spoke quietly into his phone, mobilizing forces. The war had begun. They returned to the estate after midnight. Damon's shoulder was stitched and bandaged, his shirt replaced with a black Henley that made the white gauze visible at the collar. He'd refused pain medication. Said he needed to think clearly. Clara hadn't slept. Couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the stained glass exploding, heard the crack of gunfire, felt Damon's blood hot against her palms. The SUV passed through the main gate, which closed behind them with a finality that felt less like safety and more like a sentence. Elias had tripled security. Men with rifles walked the perimeter. Cameras tracked every shadow. Get some rest, Damon said as they entered the house. We have work to do tomorrow. What kind of work? The kind that requires you functional. He started toward his office, then stopped. Clara, you did well today. Not everyone keeps their head when bullets fly. It wasn't quite praise, but coming from him, it felt like benediction. She made it to her suite and collapsed on the bed, still dressed. Sleep came in fragments, violent, shallow, useless. At dawn, someone knocked. Clara opened the door to find Elias standing in the hallway with a young man beside him. Early 20s, lean build, dark hair that needed cutting, wearing jeans and a university hoodie. His eyes were the same shade as hers. Noah? Her brother's face split into a grin that died the moment he saw her expression. Clara? What the hell is going on? These guys showed up at my dorm at 3 a.m. with a story about... She pulled him into a hug that cut off his words. He stiffened in surprise, then wrapped his arms around her. Noah was taller than she remembered. Broader. When had that happened? I'll leave you too, Elias said. Mr. Sinclair wants to see you both at breakfast. 8 o'clock. The door closed. Noah pulled back, hands on her shoulders. Clara, you want to explain why armed men extracted me from campus in the middle of the night? They wouldn't tell me anything except that you needed me here for safety. Safety from what? She led him to the sitting area, trying to organize 3 years of lies and silence into something that would make sense. It's complicated. Then uncomplicate it. So she told him. Not everything. She couldn't bring herself to describe the ambush, the blood, the moment she'd chosen war. But enough. Ohio. Richard Calloway. The flash drive. Victor Kane. Noah listened without interrupting, his expressions cycling through disbelief, anger, and something close to betrayal. 3 years, he said when she finished. You've been running from this for 3 years and didn't tell me? I was protecting you. From what? The truth? He stood, paced to the window. I thought you left Ohio because of work, because you wanted a fresh start. You let me believe you were fine. I was fine. I stayed invisible. I didn't cause problems. Until some mafia boss decided you were his problem to solve? Noah turned and his eyes were hard. That's what he is, right? Damon Sinclair? You're not really a housekeeper here. You're something else. I'm exactly what I told you. I work here. I keep my head down. Except now there are men with guns trying to kill you, and I'm being held in a mansion with more security than a federal prison. His voice cracked. Jesus, Clara. What have you gotten yourself into? The knock at the door saved her from answering. Elias again, polite and immovable. Mr. Sinclair is waiting. Breakfast was served in a private dining room Clara had never entered. Smaller than the formal hall, with windows overlooking the garden and a table that could seat 8, but currently held 3 settings. Damon was already there, coffee in hand, reading something on a tablet. He looked up when they entered. Noah Hayes? Not a question. He set the tablet aside and extended his hand. Thank you for coming. Noah ignored the hand. I didn't have a choice. No, you didn't. Damon lowered his arm, unbothered. Sit. We have things to discuss. I'm not hungry. Wasn't a request. The words were soft, but they carried weight. Noah glanced at Clara, who nodded. They sat. Damon poured himself more coffee, the motion casual despite the bandaged shoulder. Your sister has been working for me for a year. In that time, she's been a model employee. Invisible, efficient, exactly what I look for in staff. 3 days ago, that changed. He laid out the situation with clinical precision. The flowers, Victor Kane, the drive, the ambush at the church. Noah's face went progressively paler. You got her shot at, Noah said. I got shot. She walked out untouched. Because you used her as bait. Because she possessed something valuable, and the only way to secure it was to retrieve it before Kane did. Damon leaned forward. Your sister made a choice yesterday. She chose to fight rather than run. That means she's under my protection. Complete protection. Which extends to you. I don't need protection. Victor Kane has killed for less than $4.2 million. You think he won't use a college student to leverage the woman who has evidence that could destroy him? Damon's eyes were ice. You're here because you're a vulnerability, and I don't leave vulnerabilities exposed. Noah looked at Clara. Is he serious? Yes, she said quietly. So what? I'm a prisoner now? You're a guest, Damon corrected. Free to move around the estate, access the library, the pool, whatever you need, but you don't leave the property until this is resolved. Resolved how? Definitively. The word hung there, heavy with implication. Noah pushed back from the table. This is insane. I have classes, exams, a life, which you'll return to when it's safe. Damon's voice didn't rise, didn't need to. I've already contacted your university. You're taking a medical leave for family emergency. Your professors have been notified. You won't lose the semester. You can't just. I can. I did. Damon stood, and the movement carried absolute authority. Your sister is under my protection. You don't run. You don't make calls to friends explaining where you are. You don't post on social media. You stay here, stay quiet, and stay alive. Those are the terms. Noah looked like he wanted to argue, to push back against the casual display of power. But something in Damon's expression must have convinced him the fight was already lost. How long? Noah asked. As long as it takes. Clara watched her brother process this, saw him age years in seconds. Finally, he nodded. Can I at least have my laptop? I have assignments to finish. Elias will get it from your dorm. Anything else you need, make a list. Damon moved toward the door, then paused. One more thing. If you think about leaving, about being a hero and drawing Kane away from your sister, remember that the first thing he'll do is hurt you to make her comply. Stay here. Let me do what I do. He left. The silence in his wake felt crushing. Noah stared at his untouched plate. He's terrifying. Yes. You trust him? Clara thought about the church, about Damon's body between her and the bullets, about the way he'd looked at the drive and seen not leverage, but liberation. I don't have a choice, she said. But yes, I think I do. The rest of the day passed in uneasy stillness. Noah explored the estate like a man learning his cage. Clara tried to rest and failed. By evening, exhaustion had hollowed her out. She was in the library when Elias found her. Another message, he said. Different number, same style. Her stomach dropped. What does it say? He handed her his phone. Ask Sinclair what he was doing in Ohio 3 years ago. Ask him about the warehouse on Prospect Street. Ask him who really killed Richard Calloway. Clara read it twice. 3 times. The words didn't change. Where's Damon? She asked. His office. She found him reviewing security footage, multiple screens showing the perimeter from every angle. He looked up when she entered. We need to talk, Clara said. He must have heard something in her voice because he immediately closed the laptop. What happened? She showed him the message. He read it once, expression unreadable, then set the phone down with careful precision. And you want to know if it's true? Were you in Ohio 3 years ago? The pause was answer enough. Yes. The floor seemed to tilt. Did you kill Richard Calloway? No. His voice was steady. But I was there when he died. Clara's breath stopped. Explain. Now. Damon stood, moved to the window. The garden lights cast his reflection in the glass. A man who looked more tired than she'd ever seen him. 3 years ago, Victor Kane hired me to recover money stolen from one of his operations. 4.2 million moved through a financial consultant in Ohio named Richard Calloway. My job was to find Calloway, recover the funds, and deliver him to Kane. He turned to face her. I found him in a warehouse on Prospect Street. He was already dead. Already? Kane's other men had gotten there first, tortured him for information about the money. When he wouldn't break, they killed him. Damon's eyes were hollow. I was supposed to deliver a body. Instead, I found a massacre. And you just left him there? I buried what was left, cleaned the scene, made him disappear. His voice was flat, mechanical. That's what I do, Clara. I solve problems. Sometimes that means making evidence vanish. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. You worked for Kane. I did, once, before I understood what he was. He took a step toward her. I didn't know about the drive, didn't know Calloway had insurance, and I didn't know about you. So this whole time you've been lying to me. I've been protecting you. From the man you used to work for. Her voice cracked. You stood there and acted like you were my savior when you're the reason he knows I exist. If I hadn't been there that night, you'd be dead already. The only reason Kane doesn't have you is because I saw the bigger picture. Damon's composure finally fractured. Yes, I worked for him. Yes, I helped clean up his mess in Ohio. But when I realized what he was, what he'd become, I walked away. And when he sent those flowers to my house, I chose to protect you instead of handing you over. I'm supposed to be grateful? You're supposed to be alive, which you are. Because of me. They stared at each other across the office. The distance felt infinite. Get out, Clara whispered. Clara, get out. I can't look at you right now. He hesitated, jaw working. Then he nodded once and left. Clara stood alone in his office, surrounded by screens showing a fortress built to keep her safe, and wondered if she was being protected or just imprisoned by a different monster. Clara didn't leave the library for 3 hours. She sat in the leather chair by the window and watched night settle over the estate. The security lights came on in sequence, illuminating the perimeter in precise intervals. Men with rifles walked their routes. Cameras tracked their movements. Everything orderly. Everything controlled. Everything a lie. Noah found her when the grandfather clock in the hall struck 10. Elias said you didn't come to dinner. He stood in the doorway, uncertain. Are you okay? No. He came in anyway, took the chair across from her. Want to talk about it? Damon worked for Victor Kane 3 years ago. He was in Ohio the night my boss died. The words came out flat, mechanical. He cleaned up the crime scene, made the body disappear. Noah went very still. Jesus. He says he didn't kill Richard. Says Kane's other men got there first. Says he buried what was left and walked away. Clara finally looked at her brother. Do you believe him? Does it matter what I believe? It matters to me. Noah leaned back, ran a hand through his hair. I've been here less than a day, but I've seen how he operates. The control, the precision, the way everyone jumps when he speaks. That man doesn't do anything without calculating all the angles. He paused. If he wanted you dead, Clara, you'd be dead. He wouldn't have spent a year keeping you safe. Wouldn't have taken bullets in that church. Wouldn't have brought me here to keep me out of Kane's reach. So I should just trust him? After everything? I think you already do. That's what's really bothering you. The truth of it landed like a punch. Clara closed her eyes. Felt tears prick behind her lids. I don't want to trust him. I don't want to need him. But you do. But I do. Noah stood, moved to the window beside her chair. You know what I think? I think you've been alone for so long that someone actually protecting you feels dangerous. Because if you let yourself believe it, if you let yourself rely on him, and then he fails. I go back to being invisible. Except this time, I won't survive it. Yeah. He put a hand on her shoulder. But maybe that's a risk worth taking, because the alternative is running forever. And sis, you look exhausted. She was. Bone deep, soul tired, hollowed out from 3 years of looking over her shoulder and never letting anyone close enough to matter. Get some rest, Noah said. Things will look different in the morning. They wouldn't. But she let him believe it. He left. Clara sat in the library until the clock struck midnight, then made her way back to her suite. The hallway was empty except for the security cameras tracking her movement. Elias would be watching, making sure she was safe, making sure she didn't run. Her suite felt like a museum of borrowed comfort. Beautiful things she'd never chosen, in a space she'd never wanted, under protection she'd never asked for. She changed into the silk pajamas that cost more than a week's wages and climbed into bed. Sleep didn't come. At 2:17 in the morning, she heard footsteps in the hallway. Slow, deliberate. They stopped outside her door. A light knock. "Clara," Damon's voice, quiet. "I know you're awake." She didn't answer. "I'm not coming in. I just need you to listen." A pause. "I should have told you about Ohio, about my connection to Kane. I made a choice to keep that from you because I knew how it would look. I knew you'd question everything." Clara stared at the ceiling, listening to words filtered through solid wood. "But here's what you need to understand. When I walked into that warehouse and saw what they'd done to Calloway, I made a decision. I could deliver what was left to Kane and collect my fee, or I could bury the body and walk away. I chose to walk away. I chose to end my association with a man who could order that kind of brutality." His voice dropped lower. "And when those flowers appeared at my gate with your name on them, I could have handed you over. Told Kane you were just staff, that you knew nothing, that you weren't worth protecting. Instead, I put you under my roof and put my men between you and whatever's coming." Silence stretched. Clara's throat ached. "I'm not asking you to trust me," Damon continued. "Trust is earned, and I've given you every reason not to. But I am asking you to believe that my word means something. And my word is this. I will not let Kane hurt you. I will not let anyone hurt you. Whatever I was 3 years ago, whoever I worked for, that's not who I am now." Clara heard him shift on the other side of the door. "Tomorrow morning, we start going through the files on that drive. We build a case that can actually take Kane down, not just wound him, but destroy everything he's built. And we do it together, because you deserve to see this through. You deserve to stop running." A beat. "Get some rest, Clara." His footsteps retreated down the hallway. Clara lay in the dark for another hour before sleep finally pulled her under. Morning arrived with pale sunlight and a text from Elias. "Mr. Sinclair requests your presence in the secure office. 8 a.m. She dressed carefully. Jeans, a sweater, hair pulled back. Armor for a war she didn't know how to fight. The secure office was in the basement. Concrete walls, no windows, encryption equipment humming in the corner. Damon was already there with 2 other men Clara didn't recognize. One was older, gray-haired, wearing reading glasses. The other was younger, tech-focused, surrounded by 3 laptops. "Clara Hayes," Damon said. "Meet Robert Chen, federal prosecutor, and David Kim, forensic analyst. They've been reviewing the drive." Chen stood, extended a hand. "Miss Hayes, your former employer was remarkably thorough." Clara shook his hand. Confused. "Federal prosecutor?" "Robert works with the Southern District," Damon explained. "He's been trying to build a case against Kane for 5 years. Hasn't had enough evidence to move forward. Until now." Kim swiveled in his chair. "This drive is a prosecutorial goldmine. Wire transfers, shipping manifests, photographs of meetings between Kane and known criminals. There's enough here to trigger RICO charges, money laundering, trafficking, conspiracy, basically the entire criminal buffet." "How long to build the case?" Damon asked. "With this? 2 weeks for preliminary filing. Another month for grand jury. If we move fast, we can freeze his assets, get warrants, start rolling up his network before he knows what hit him." Clara found her voice. "And me? What happens to me?" Chen looked at her with something like sympathy. "You'll need to testify eventually, but we can keep your identity sealed until trial. Witness protection after, if necessary. Witness protection means disappearing. It means staying alive." Chen corrected gently. Damon's jaw tightened. "There's another option." Everyone looked at him. We leak just enough to make Kane paranoid, Damon said. Make him think his own people are turning on him. While he's chasing shadows internally, we hit him with the full federal case. By the time he realizes the threat came from outside, it's too late. Chen considered this. That's actually brilliant, and likely to speed up his collapse. It's also dangerous, Kim added. If he figures out the leak came from here, he already knows the drive came from here. He sent shooters to a church to get it back. Damon's eyes found Clara's. The question is whether we make him afraid of everyone, or just us. Clara understood what he was offering. A way to spread the risk. To make Kane's paranoia work against him instead of focusing all his rage on this house, on her, on Noah sleeping 2 floors above them. Do it, she said. Chen nodded. We'll need your testimony about Calloway, about how he gave you the drive, what he said, why you kept it. That becomes part of the foundation. When? Today, if you're willing. We'll record it here, keep it sealed until filing. Clara looked at Damon. He watched her with that same unreadable expression, waiting for her choice. She thought about the library conversation, about Noah's words, about 3 years of running that had led her to this moment. Okay, she said. Let's do this. The testimony took 4 hours. Chen's questions were precise, thorough, pulling details from her memory she'd buried. The recording equipment captured everything. Her voice, her hesitations, the moment she nearly broke describing Richard Calloway's fear the night he gave her that envelope. When it was done, Clara felt scraped hollow. That's everything we need, Chen said, packing up his equipment. I'll be in touch when we're ready to move. After they left, Clara sat in the secure office with Damon. The silence felt different now. Less hostile. More like 2 people standing on the same side of a line that had been drawn without their permission. You did well, Damon said finally. I told the truth. That's harder than most people think. He stood, moved to the door, then stopped. For what it's worth, I meant what I said last night. Every word. Clara met his eyes. I know. Something shifted in his expression. Relief, maybe. Or recognition. Then we have work to do, he said. Kane won't wait patiently while the feds build their case. What do you think he'll do? Damon's smile was cold. Whatever he does, we'll be ready. The call came at 4 a.m. Clara woke to voices in the hallway. Sharp, urgent, wrong. She grabbed the panic device and was halfway to the door when it opened. Damon stood there, still dressed from the night before, phone in hand, expression carved from stone. Noah's gone. The words didn't make sense. She'd seen her brother at dinner, watched him retreat to his room with a stack of textbooks and complaints about calculus. He was safe. He was here. Gone how? Her voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. Elias checked his room 10 minutes ago. Windows open, rope made from bed sheets. Security footage shows him climbing down the south wall at 3:47 a.m. Damon's jaw tightened. He left a note. He handed her a folded piece of paper. Clara's hands shook as she opened it. I can't let you fight my battles. If Kane wants leverage, let him use me instead of you. I'm sorry. I love you. N. The paper crumpled in her fist. That idiot. That absolute... Her throat closed. We have to find him. We will. Damon was already moving, Clara following him down the hallway. Marcus pulled traffic cameras. Noah took a cab heading east. We're tracking it now. They reached the security office. Multiple screens showed city streets, intersections, the cab's route highlighted in red. It stopped at a 24-hour diner on the waterfront. There. Elias pointed. He went inside 12 minutes ago. Hasn't come out. Is he alone? Can't confirm. Diner's got blind spots. Elias pulled up another feed. Wait. Vehicle approaching from the north. Black sedan. No plates. They watched the sedan pull into the diner's parking lot. 3 men got out. Professional, coordinated, scanning their surroundings with practiced efficiency. One stayed by the car. The other 2 entered the diner. Kane's men, Damon said quietly. Clara couldn't breathe. On screen, the 2 men emerged from the diner less than a minute later. Between them, Noah, walking, not fighting, hands visible but clearly compliant. They put him in the sedan. One of them held up a phone, pointed it directly at the camera, and smiled. The phone on Damon's desk rang. He picked it up, put it on speaker. Kane. Sinclair. The voice was smooth, cultured, utterly calm. I believe I have something of yours, or rather, something belonging to your house guest. If you hurt him, please. I'm a businessman, not a savage. The boy is fine. Scared, certainly, but unharmed. A pause. For now. Clara's nails dug into her palms. Damon's expression was lethal. What do you want? Damon asked. You know what I want. The drive. The original, not copies. I want every file deleted, every backup destroyed. In exchange, the boy goes home. And Clara? Clara Hayes is a ghost who should have stayed buried, but I'm a reasonable man. Give me the drive and I'll forget she exists. Kane's voice hardened. Refuse and I'll mail her brother back in pieces. Damon's hand tightened on the phone. When and where? Pier 9, 6 a.m. Come alone. Bring the drive. No security, no backup, no clever tricks. Just you, me, and an exchange. The line went quiet for a moment. Oh, and Sinclair? I know you're recording this. I know you've brought in federal prosecutors. I know everything that happens in your house. So understand that if you're planning something heroic, I'll know about it before you execute it. The call ended. Silence filled the security office like water filling lungs. He has someone inside, Elias said. Has to. No other way he'd know about Chen and Kim. Damon's eyes swept the room, calculating, assessing. Everyone out. Clara stays. The security team filed out without question. When the door closed, Damon turned to her. I'm going to get your brother back. You can't give him the drive. Everything we've built. I'm not giving him anything. He moved to the safe in the corner, spun the combination. Inside were 3 identical flash drives. He pulled out one, held it up. Decoy. Loaded with encrypted garbage that'll take his tech people hours to crack. By the time they realize it's fake, we'll be gone. And the real drive? Already with Chen. Federal custody as of midnight. He pocketed the decoy. Kane thinks he has leverage. He thinks he's won. We're going to show him exactly how wrong he is. Clara grabbed his arm. He said, come alone. I know what he said. Damon, if this is a trap, it's definitely a trap. He met her eyes. Which is why you're staying here, where Elias can protect you. Like hell I am. Clara? That's my brother, my mess, my choice. Her voice didn't shake. You're not leaving me behind. Not this time. He studied her face, reading the determination there. Finally, he nodded. You stay in the vehicle. You don't move unless Elias gives the signal. And if things go sideways, you run. Understand? Yes. I mean it. You run, and you don't look back. I understand. He didn't look convinced, but they were out of time. Pier 9 was 30 minutes away, and dawn was already bleeding across the horizon. They took 2 vehicles, Damon, Clara, and Elias in the lead SUV. Marcus and 4 others in a second vehicle that would maintain distance until needed. The plan was simple: exchange the drive, extract Noah, and get out before Kane realized he'd been played. Simple plans never survived contact with reality. Pier 9 was industrial, abandoned, perfect for an ambush. Shipping containers stacked like rusty monuments, cranes reaching into the gray morning sky, water dark and still against the dock. A black Mercedes waited at the far end, engine running. Damon pulled the SUV to a stop 50 yards out. Through the windshield, Clara could see figures moving. 4 men, maybe more. And Noah, standing beside the Mercedes with his hands zip-tied in front of him. "He looks unharmed," Elias murmured, scanning with binoculars. "So far." Damon checked his weapon, chambered around. "Stay here. I'll signal when it's clear." He stepped out of the vehicle. Clara watched him walk toward the Mercedes, hands visible, no weapon drawn. The ultimate expression of control, walking into death's mouth and making it look like a casual stroll. Victor Kane emerged from the Mercedes. He was exactly as he'd appeared on the security footage. Sharp features, graying hair, expensive suit, that distinctive ring catching the morning light. He smiled when he saw Damon approach. "Sinclair. Punctual as always." "Kane, you're looking well for a man whose empire is about to collapse." "Empire? How dramatic." Kane gestured to Noah. "The boy's unharmed, as promised. I'm a man of my word." "That's debatable." "Is it?" Kane's smile sharpened. "You worked for me once. You know how I operate. I don't break deals unless the other party breaks them first." He extended his hand. "The drive?" Damon pulled the decoy from his pocket, held it up. "Let the kid go first." "Of course, but I'll need to verify the contents." "Verify it after." That was the deal. "The deal," Kane said softly, "was predicated on trust. And I'm afraid recent events have eroded that considerably." He snapped his fingers. One of his men produced a laptop, booted it up. "Show me." Clara's pulse hammered. If they checked the drive now, if they realized it was fake before Noah was clear. Damon inserted the drive. Files appeared on screen, folders, documents, everything that should be there. The decoy was good, Clara realized. Good enough to pass a surface inspection. Kane scrolled through several folders, spot-checked a few files. His expression remained neutral. "This appears to be in order." "Then we're done." "Not quite." Kane nodded to one of his men. "Search him." The man moved forward. Damon didn't resist as rough hands patted him down, found the weapon at his shoulder, the knife at his ankle, the backup piece at the small of his back. All of it removed and tossed aside. "Now the boy," Kane said. The zip ties were cut. Noah stumbled forward and Damon caught him, pushed him toward the SUV. "Go. Now." Noah ran. Clara saw him coming, flung open the door. He dove into the back seat, breathing hard, and she pulled the door shut. "Are you hurt?" "No. Scared, but..." "Clara, it's a trap. He has men in the containers, rifles. They're waiting for..." The first shot shattered the Mercedes windshield. Everything happened at once. Damon dove behind a shipping container as Kane's men returned fire. The second SUV roared into the pier, Marcus and his team spilling out with weapons raised. Bullets sparked off metal, concrete. The morning air suddenly full of gunfire and shouting. "Stay down!" Elias was already moving out of the vehicle, laying down, covering fire. Through the chaos, Clara saw Damon fighting his way toward Kane. Saw Kane retreat toward the warehouse at the pier's edge. Saw one of Kane's men take aim at Damon's exposed back. She didn't think, just moved. Clara grabbed the door handle, flung it open and screamed, "Behind you!" Damon spun, fired. The man dropped, but the distraction cost him. Another shooter emerged from between containers, weapon raised, and pulled the trigger. Damon went down. Clara heard herself scream. Elias was suddenly there, dragging her back into the SUV, but she fought him. "He's hit! We have to—" "Marcus has him!" Elias pointed. Through the gunfire, she saw Marcus reach Damon, haul him up, half carry him toward the second vehicle. Blood. So much blood. The firefight lasted another 3 minutes. Then Kane's remaining men retreated, dragging their wounded, disappearing into the warehouse. Marcus's team pursued, but Elias waved them off. "Get Sinclair to the vehicle. We're leaving." They loaded Damon into the second SUV. Clara climbed in beside him, her hands immediately going to the wound in his side. The bullet had punched through just below his ribs, exit wound visible on his back. Not immediately fatal, but bad. Very bad. "Apply pressure," Elias ordered, already driving. "Noah, there's a medical kit under the seat. Get it." The drive back was a blur of red lights and Clara's hands slick with blood. Damon's face was pale, his breathing shallow, but his eyes stayed open. Stayed on her. "Told you to stay in the vehicle," he managed. "Shut up. Save your strength." "Saved my life. You're still bleeding. Save the gratitude." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Then his eyes closed. "Damon, stay with me." Clara pressed harder on the wound, felt warm blood pulse against her palms. "Don't you dare! Don't you—" His hand found hers, squeezed once. "Not dying today. Promise me. Promise." They reached the estate in 23 minutes. A private surgeon was already waiting. Dr. Ellen Morrison, someone Damon apparently kept on retainer for situations exactly like this. She took one look at the wound and started barking orders. Clara was pushed aside as they carried Damon to a medical suite she hadn't known existed. State-of-the-art equipment, surgical lights, everything needed to perform major trauma surgery in-house. "Wait here," Morrison said. "This will take several hours." The door closed. Clara stood in the hallway, covered in Damon's blood, shaking so hard her teeth chattered. Noah appeared beside her, wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "He'll be okay," her brother said. "He's too stubborn to die. He took that bullet for me. For us." "I know. I should have stayed in the vehicle. If you had, he'd be dead. You warned him. You saved him." Noah's grip tightened. "Come on, let's get you cleaned up." She let him lead her away, but her eyes stayed on that closed door until they turned the corner. 5 hours later, Morrison emerged. Clara had changed clothes, scrubbed the blood from under her fingernails, drunk coffee that tasted like ash. She was on her feet before the surgeon finished pushing through the doors. "He's stable," Morrison said. "Bullet missed the major organs, but he lost significant blood. I've repaired the damage, but he'll need rest. Lots of it." "Can I see him?" "He's asking for you." Morrison's expression softened. 5 minutes. He needs to sleep. The recovery room was quiet, dimly lit. Damon lay propped against pillows. IV lines running from his arm, bandages wrapped around his torso. He looked pale, tired, and alive. Clara pulled a chair to his bedside, sat down carefully. "Hey! Hey!" His voice was rough. "Told you I wasn't dying today. You also told me to stay in the vehicle. You're terrible at following orders. Good thing you're not paying me anymore." A faint smile. "About that, we should probably discuss your employment status. Later, when you're not full of pain medication and stitches." "Fair." He reached for her hand, his fingers warm despite everything. "Noah?" "Safe," shaken up but physically fine. Elias has him locked down in the East Wing. Good. Damon's eyes closed, then forced themselves open again. Kane got away. I know. Marcus's team cleared the warehouse. He left through a service tunnel. Clara's throat tightened. The drive he has is fake. He'll figure that out soon. Then he'll come for us again. Let him. We have the real evidence. Chen said they're moving up the timeline, filing charges by end of week. Kane's about to have federal agents swarming every property he owns. Not fast enough. Damon's grip on her hand tightened slightly. He knows he's losing, knows his empire's collapsing. That makes him desperate, dangerous. Then we'll be more dangerous. He looked at her, really looked, and something shifted in his expression. You were supposed to stay invisible, safe, far away from men like me and Kane. Plans change. Clara, you took a bullet for me today. For my brother. You walked into a trap knowing you might not walk out. And you did it anyway. Her voice cracked. So don't tell me to stay away. Don't tell me to be invisible. I'm done running. Damon pulled her hand to his chest, right over his heart. She could feel it beating, steady and strong despite everything. I'd rather bleed for you than bury you, he said quietly. The words hung between them, heavier than any confession. Clara leaned forward, careful of his injuries, and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was soft, tentative, tasting of blood and promises. When she pulled back, his eyes were dark with something that looked like reverence. Sleep, she whispered. I'll be here when you wake up. You better be. She stayed in that chair, holding his hand until his breathing evened out and sleep claimed him. Only then did she allow herself to cry. Silent tears for the man who'd bled to keep her safe. For the brother who'd tried to sacrifice himself. For the life she'd thought she wanted that had turned into something far more complicated. Morrison appeared in the doorway. You should rest too. He'll sleep for at least 12 hours. I'm staying. The surgeon didn't argue, just brought another pillow, draped a blanket over Clara's shoulders, and left them alone. In the quiet recovery room, with dawn light creeping through the blinds, Clara finally let herself believe they might actually survive this. Chapter 8. 3 days after the pier, Damon was back on his feet. Against Morrison's explicit orders, against Clara's protests, against every reasonable medical guideline, he was dressed and moving through the house like the gunshot wound was a minor inconvenience rather than a near-fatal injury. You're going to tear your stitches, Clara said, watching him pour coffee in the kitchen at 6 a.m. Then Morrison will put in new ones. He took a careful sip, grimaced. We don't have time for bed rest. Kane knows the drive was fake. He'll make his next move soon. Chen's filing charges tomorrow. Let the feds handle it. The feds move through official channels. Warrants, procedures, bureaucracy. Kane moves through bullets and bodies. Damon set the cup down. He's going to come for us before those charges are filed. I'd bet my life on it. You already did, at the pier. His jaw tightened. Which is why I need to end this. Permanently. Clara understood what he wasn't saying. As long as Kane was alive and free, none of them were safe. Not her, not Noah, not anyone under this roof. What's the plan? She asked. Before he could answer, Elias appeared in the doorway. His expression was grim. We have a problem. They followed him to the security office. On the main monitor, footage played from the previous night. Timestamp showed 2:34 a.m. The camera angle covered the south perimeter, and for 40 seconds, nothing happened. Then the feed went dark. Not static, not interference, just dark, like someone had thrown a switch. Power cut? Clara asked. No. Signal jammer. Elias pulled up another angle. Same thing at 2:34 a.m. Someone killed 6 cameras simultaneously. Same second. Perfect coordination. Inside job, Damon said flatly. Has to be. The jammers were hardwired into our system. Whoever did it had access to the security hub, knew our camera positions, knew exactly which feeds to cut. Elias looked at Damon. It's not a breach. It's sabotage. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. How many people have access to the security hub? Damon asked. My team. 8 people total. Elias pulled up personnel files on a side monitor. I've personally vetted every one of them. Background checks, references, psychological evaluations. They're clean. Someone isn't. Damon studied the files. Pull records for the past week. Communications, movement logs, any deviation from normal patterns. Already did. Nothing obvious. Elias hesitated. But there is something strange. Jason Garth called in sick yesterday. First time in 3 years. Where is he now? His apartment in Brooklyn. Not answering his phone. Damon's expression went cold. Send a team. If he's there, bring him in. If he's not, I want to know where he went. Elias left to coordinate. Clara moved to the monitors, watching the darkened camera feeds replay. He's been here the whole time, she said quietly. The mole. Watching us, reporting to Kane, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Yes. Do you think Garth is working alone? I think Garth is the leak, whether he's working alone or as part of something larger. Damon's phone buzzed. He checked it, face hardening. Marcus found something in Garth's locker. Encrypted phone, same model as the one left on your breakfast tray. Clara's stomach turned. He's the one who planted it. And he's the one who told Kane about the federal prosecutors. About Noah. About every move we've made. Damon's voice was knife-sharp. He's been selling us out for months. The door opened. Marcus entered with 2 other security personnel, and between them, hands cuffed, face bruised, defiant, Jason Garth. Damon studied him for a long moment. Garth stared back, jaw set, bleeding from a split lip. How much did he pay you? Damon asked. Garth said nothing. Was it worth it? Betraying people who trusted you, who protected you, who paid you well to keep them safe? Still nothing. Or did Kane have leverage? Debts? Family? Something that gave him hooks into you? You don't understand, Garth finally said. His voice was rough, bitter. You've got power, money, walls to hide behind. People like me? We're expendable. Kane offered me a way out. A way out that required selling out everyone under this roof. I did what I had to do to survive. We all do. Damon moved closer, and despite the recent injury, despite the bandages under his shirt, he radiated lethal intent. The difference is, I don't pretend betrayal is survival. I call it what it is. Cowardice. Garth lunged. Marcus and the others held him back, but the violence in his expression was unmistakable. You self-righteous bastard! Garth spat. You think you're better than Kane? You've done worse. I've seen the files, the bodies you've buried, the deals you've made. You're no saint. Never claimed to be. Damon's voice was ice. But I protect what's mine. You violated that. So now you're going to tell me exactly what you told Kane, what he's planning, and where he is. Go to hell. Damon nodded to Marcus. Take him to the basement. Make sure he's comfortable. I'll be down shortly. They dragged Garth toward the door. As he passed Clara, he looked at her with something like pity. You think you're special to him? Garth said. You're just another asset, another piece on his board. The moment you stop being useful. Marcus slammed him against the doorframe, cutting off the words. They disappeared down the hallway. Silence settled over the security office. Is he right? Clara asked quietly. Damon turned to her. About? Me being an asset. A piece on your board. He crossed the space between them in 3 strides, cupped her face in his hands. The gesture was careful, almost reverent. You were never an asset, he said. From the moment those flowers arrived, you stopped being staff and became something else. Something I'd burn the world to protect. His thumb brushed her cheek. Garth's wrong about everything except one thing. I have done terrible things. I've buried bodies, made deals with devils, crossed lines most people don't even know exist. But everything I've done in the past week, every choice, every risk, every bullet, has been to keep you safe. Not because you're useful. Because I can't imagine this world without you in it. Clara's breath caught. Damon? I'm not good for you. I know that. You deserve better than a man with blood on his hands and enemies at every door. But I'm selfish enough to want you anyway. His voice dropped to a whisper. And I'm terrified that wanting you will get you killed. She understood then what she'd overheard, what had kept him at arm's length even as he pulled her closer. He wasn't protecting her from Cain. He was protecting her from himself. You don't get to make that choice for me, Clara said. I'm not running. I'm not hiding. And I'm not leaving you to fight this alone. She covered his hands with hers. Whatever happens, we face it together. That's not negotiable. For a long moment, he just looked at her. Then he kissed her. Hard, desperate, like a man drowning and she was air. The moment shattered when alarms screamed through the house. Damon pulled away, instantly alert. What? Perimeter breach. Elias's voice crackled over the security radio. Multiple hostiles, north and east gates. They're inside. Gunfire erupted somewhere above them. Damon grabbed Clara's arm, pulled her toward the door. Stay with me. Don't let go. They ran through corridors suddenly full of chaos. Security personnel rushed past, weapons drawn. Glass shattered in distant rooms. More gunfire, closer now. Noah, Clara gasped. Where's Noah? East wing, 3rd floor. Damon changed direction, heading for the stairs. Marcus has him locked down. They took the stairs 3 at a time. 2nd floor was clear. 3rd floor. The door to Noah's suite hung open, splintered where someone had kicked it in. Clara's heart stopped. Damon moved through the doorway first, weapon raised, clearing corners. The sitting room was trashed, furniture overturned, lamp shattered, signs of struggle. No Noah. Marcus, Damon spoke into his radio. Hayes's suite is compromised. Do you have the brother? Static. Then. Negative. Suite was breached before we got here. Subject missing. Clara made a sound that wasn't quite human. Damon caught her before she could run back into the hallway. We'll find him, he said. But first we secure this floor. More gunfire, this time from the east wing. Voices shouting. Then, terrifyingly, silence. Elias appeared at the doorway, breathing hard. Cain's men are pulling back. They got what they came for. Noah, Clara whispered. And Garth. Elias's expression was grim. They hit the basement, killed 2 of ours, extracted him from holding. Professional extraction. In and out in under 4 minutes. Damon's face went to stone. Casualties? 2 dead, 3 wounded. Could have been worse if they'd wanted a massacre. This was a surgical strike. Clara's knees buckled. Damon caught her, held her upright. He's alive. If Cain wanted him dead, We'd have found a body. He took Noah for leverage. Just like before. Just like before. Damon's voice was deadly calm. Which means he'll make contact. Make demands. The call came 15 minutes later. Clara stood in Damon's office, surrounded by security personnel, listening to Victor Kane's smooth voice over speakerphone. "I believe we've danced this dance before," Kane said. "Only this time, I'm holding considerably more cards. Your mole, your witness's brother, and a detailed understanding of exactly how compromised your security is." "What do you want?" Damon's voice was flat. "The same thing I've always wanted. The real drive. Every copy, every backup, every file you've shared with federal prosecutors. All of it. Delivered to me with assurances it's been completely erased from official systems." "That's not possible. Chen filed charges this morning. The evidence is already in federal hands." "Then unfill them. Use your considerable influence to make this case disappear. I know you have contacts in the Southern District. Make it happen. And if I don't, then I kill the boy. Then I kill Garth before he can testify against me. Then I come for Clara Hayes, and I make sure her death is memorable enough that everyone understands what happens when someone crosses me." Clara's hands clenched into fists. "You have 24 hours, Kane continued. "Tomorrow night, midnight, Whitby Docks. Come alone, bring proof the case is dead, and we'll make our final exchange." A pause. "And Sinclair? Don't test me. I've been patient, generous even, but my patience has limits." The line went dead. The office erupted into controlled chaos. Elias coordinating with Chen, Marcus organizing security protocols, other personnel analyzing the call, tracing it, looking for any advantage. Clara heard none of it. She stared at the phone, at the place where her brother's life had been reduced to a bargaining chip, and felt something inside her crystallize into steel. "I'm going with you," she said. Damon looked up from the tactical map Marcus had spread across his desk. "Absolutely not. He has Noah because of me. Because of a drive I kept. A secret I carried. I'm not sitting here while I walk into an ambush? That's exactly what you're doing." His voice softened. "Clara, I can't protect you and extract your brother. I need to know you're safe. And I need to be there. I need to see this through." They stared at each other across the desk, both unmovable, both terrified of losing what they'd just found. Finally, Elias cleared his throat. "If I may, Kane expects Sinclair alone. What if we give him that, visually, while positioning a secondary team at distance? Clara stays back with the team, we maintain communication, and if things go wrong, we're ready to move." Damon's jaw worked. "No. It's the only way I'm staying behind," Clara said. "You keep me close, keep me safe, but I'm there. Those are my terms." "This isn't a negotiation." "Yes, it is. You don't control me, Damon. You protect me. There's a difference." She moved around the desk, placed her hands on either side of his face. "Please, let me be strong enough to stand beside you." Something in his expression cracked. He closed his eyes, leaned into her touch. "If anything happens to you, it won't. You'll make sure of it." He opened his eyes, and the vulnerability there nearly undid her. 24 hours, he said. "We plan, we prepare, and we end this." "Together," Clara said. "Together." Chapter 9, The Whitby Docks at midnight looked like the end of the world. Fog rolled off the water in thick waves, turning the industrial lights into ghostly halos. Shipping containers formed a maze of rusted corridors. Cranes stood silent against the sky like mechanical sentinels. The only sound was water lapping against pylons and the occasional groan of metal settling. Clara crouched behind a container 200 yards from the main pier. Elias beside her. Marcus and 3 others spread out in tactical positions. They all wore communication devices, night vision, body armor. Professional. Prepared. Terrified. Sinclair approaching the designated point. Elias murmured into his mic. Through her own night vision, Clara could see Damon walking toward the pier's edge. Alone. Hands visible. No weapons apparent. She knew better. Damon was never unarmed. A spotlight clicked on, pinning him in harsh white light. Figures emerged from the fog. 6 men, all armed, forming a semicircle. And in the center, flanked by 2 more guards, Victor Kane. He looked exactly as he had at Pier 9. Impeccable suit, that ring catching light, smile that never reached his eyes. Behind him, Noah knelt with his hands bound, a guard's weapon pressed to the back of his head. Clara's finger found the panic device still clipped to her waist. Old habit. Useless now. Sinclair. Kane's voice carried across the water. Punctual as ever. Where's Garth? Damon asked. Indisposed. He served his purpose. Translation. Dead. Do you have what I asked for? Damon pulled papers from his jacket, held them up. Signed statement from Assistant District Attorney Chen. Federal case dismissed. All charges dropped. Evidence returned to your custody. Show me. Damon approached slowly. Kane's men tensed, weapons tracking. When he was 10 feet away, Damon tossed the papers forward. One of Kane's men retrieved them, handed them over. Kane read carefully, his expression unreadable. Then he looked up, and his smile widened. These are very well forged, he said. Chen's signature is particularly convincing. But I spoke to the Southern District an hour ago. The case is very much alive. Clara's blood turned to ice. Damon didn't move. Then we have a problem. No. You have a problem. Kane nodded to the guard holding Noah. Kill him. Wait! Damon's voice cracked like a whip. You want the drive? The real one? I'll give it to you. Right now. Just let the boy go. The drive is already in federal custody. You said so yourself. I lied. I made copies before turning over the original. Kept insurance, just in case. Damon pulled a flash drive from his pocket. Everything. Unedited. Unencrypted. Every file your accountant compiled. It's all here. Kane's eyes narrowed. Why should I believe you? Because I'm a survivor. Because I know how men like us operate. We always keep leverage. Damon took a step forward. Take it. Take the drive. Take your secrets. And let these people go. You win. I walk away. Everyone lives. Everyone lives, Kane repeated thoughtfully. Except I don't trust you, Sinclair. And I don't leave loose ends. He raised his hand. Damon threw the drive. Not toward Kane. Toward the water. The flash drive arced through the fog, disappeared over the pier's edge, and splashed into the darkness below. No! Kane's composure finally shattered. You idiot! That was... Damon moved. He covered the distance to Noah in seconds, tackling the guard, weapon appearing in his hand as if conjured. 2 shots. The guard dropped, the second guard fell. Damon cut Noah's bonds, shoved him behind a container. Now! Elias's voice in Clara's ear. Go! 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 The team emerged from concealment, laying down suppressing fire. Kane's men scattered as Elias's team advanced. Clara ran toward Noah, her brother's face pale but determined as Damon shoved him behind cover. Clara, get back! Damon fired twice more, dropping another of Kane's men. But she'd already seen it. Kane reaching for his weapon, aiming not at Damon, but at Noah. She didn't think, just moved. The bullet meant for her brother caught her in the shoulder, spinning her sideways. She heard Damon roar her name, heard the rapid crack of gunfire as he emptied his magazine into Kane's chest. Victor Kane fell to his knees, blood spreading across his expensive suit. His eyes found Clara's as she clutched her shoulder. "You really don't know, do you?" He coughed, red staining his teeth. "Calloway didn't steal that money. Your father did. Richard was just the courier." His smile was gruesome. "Clara Calloway. The money was always yours." He collapsed forward and stopped breathing. Damon was beside her instantly, his hands gentle as he examined her wound. "Graze. You'll live." His voice shook. "You stupid, brave." "I had to." "I know." He kissed her forehead. "I know." The cafe smelled of coffee and salt air. Clara wiped down the counter, watching sunset paint the Santa Monica Pier in gold. Damon emerged from the kitchen with fresh pastries, his movements still careful around old scars. "Ready to close?" he asked. She nodded, flipping the sign to closed. Noah waved from a corner booth. Textbooks spread around him. Real college this time, on his own terms. Damon pulled her close. "Any regrets?" Clara looked at their modest cafe, at her brother safe and studying, at the man who'd bled for her, and then walked away from his empire so they could have this quiet life. "None," she said, and meant it. They'd both been invisible once. Now they were finally free. If you felt something while watching, please subscribe. That's how I know these stories mean something to you. Even on your TV, take a second to join our community of story lovers. Your support keeps this world of emotions alive.